Hey guys, Demon Ferret here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. You guys have been watching me for a while, and I am a fursuit maker. I don't just make videos because I'm a douchebag and I like acting like a douchebag. I am a fursuit maker, and I wanted to do something that was related to that besides talking about freaking lion partials. Uh, in this video, I'm going to show you guys what it's like to commission me. As a note, my commissions for small parts, like I'm going to be showing you in this video, are always open. So this is what it's like to be on the commissioner's side when commissioning me. Just how the process goes, what you would expect from me during the entire process, what you'll see, what you'll experience, and I don't know, maybe this will be fun. Maybe this will be boring as sin. I have no idea, but I don't see makers really doing this stuff. I just see makers showing you what the labor is like. And I like that. I like showing you guys how things are made, but I don't see anyone showing you guys what goes behind the actual commission process. So I'm going to do that. Here we go. So the first part of the process is always contact. And as you can see, I have my FA, my DA, my Weasel. But always the best way to contact anyone is through email. Although, for me, I accept any forms of contact, except for my Facebook. I like keeping that for my own commission purposes, for me commissioning other people, and also for my admin work on Facebook. So I'd rather not have a lot of people flooding me on Facebook for commissions or anything like that, if commissions spike at any point in time. So I'd rather things be through, these platforms or through email. Email is always preferred. And that's just because email has the best record keeping abilities. So you contact your person, you contact who you want, or me, and you say, hey, I want a thing, can you do the thing? And of course you're going to send your ref sheet. This is Rainbow Sin ref sheet. There's a joke behind that one. But Rainbow Sin ref sheet here shows your character design and blah blah blah. We all know why ref sheets exist. So we show the ref sheet and then you get your price and yada yada yada. Once you get your pricing, then for me, I'll send an invoice. Not all makers send invoices, but once a price is agreed upon, an invoice or an email link for PayPal will be sent, or other method of payment if someone chooses another method of payment. In this specific case, I will be remaking a set of paws that I made 5 years ago. This is actually the first set of paws I ever made, and I'm going to be remaking them now. So for a commissioner, if you're getting a part remade of something that you had before, that will come into play in pricing and in what will be wanted or desired in details and stuff like that. So like paw pads, claws, blah blah blah. If you want anything mimicked from the old part to the new part, you need to mention that to the maker, and that may or may not change the pricing. So that's important to mention, and that's part of the reason why I'm mentioning it here, because it actually can make a difference. And now is where we come to the part where we talk about the part of the commission process that applies specifically to me. So far, we've been talking about pretty general stuff. Talking to any maker, specifying details, works with any maker. It doesn't matter who you talk to, this is going to apply to everyone. The rest of this is going to apply directly to me. And I brought in the general stuff in the beginning because not everyone is familiar with commissioning. Some people who watch this video may have never commissioned something before in their lives. So I'm just covering all my bases here. So if you've seen all this before and you know all this, great, good for you. Beyond all this, some makers, especially with small parts, just don't do some of these specifically because it's small parts and it just seems like a waste of time. I don't think it's a waste of time. I think that small parts are some of the most intricate details on a suit and should be paid very close attention to. That's just me. That's my personal opinion. Not everyone agrees with that. So for me, everything that goes beyond here, it applies to me and may not apply to other makers. So just keep that in mind. So the first thing that I personally do is I order all of my stuff from either DVC or the commissioner specified fursuit parts supplier, and I also order all of my fur samples. If I have a fur in stock, then I will check with my stock with what the commissioner wants, blah blah blah. I'll go into that stage right away, but otherwise I will get the samples that I need to get. Now, DVC parts take 3 to 4 weeks, so it gives me a lot of leeway and a lot of time for me to get everything straightened out and get fur ordered and for it to get to me. So that's what I do first. And I will always send to the commissioner the shopping carts for both DVC and for the fur when I do this. If I'm ordering a lot of fur samples, then I'll just highlight the ones that apply to them. Or if I'm ordering fur plus some samples, I'll just highlight the samples that apply to them. But I'll always send those carts for approval before I actually order anything. So that's what you're seeing here is that cart, and this is what I would send for approval. Well, technically, this is a receipt, but I didn't screenshot the cart when I actually ordered anything. So this is a receipt. This isn't actually what you would see. You'd see the cart. But same kind of principle. This is kind of what you would see, but I think you're getting my drift. And while we're waiting for the DVC parts to get here, two things will happen. One, the first samples will come in and they'll do the approval process for that. And two, I will be working on the patterns for the actual part, in this case, hands. So first, we'll look at the fur samples. And here are the fur samples, and this is where I approve all the colors and yada yada yada. I'm personally very close to the fabric.com dispensary, so I get fur really fast, usually in the same week I order it, if not the week after if I order it on a weekend. So after we check the samples and I get approval for the samples, then we go on to the pattern, which is here. And the pattern, I have patterns for 4 fingers and 5 fingers. 3 fingers is the only type of hand where I don't use a predefined pattern, and that's just because it's too much of a wild card. There are too many factors in that. But for 4 fingers and 5 fingers, I have a pattern. And as you can see, in the middle is the actual pattern, and on the sides are the 2 sides of the hands that have been adapted for my size hand. So I take the hand tracing that's sent to me, and I adapt it to the pattern. And that's just how I work. I usually also adapt the pattern size to whatever DVC parts have been ordered. Usually I have something running around that has that DVC part, so I can use that as a guide for myself, and I can get the pattern done before the DVC part gets here. If I don't have anything to help me, like if it's a DVC part I've never used before, or I have nothing running around with that DVC part, so I have no basis for anything that's reliable, I might have to wait for the DVC parts to get here, which means that there might be a 3 to 4 week wait before I even get to this point. But if that's the case, there will be a warning. After the patterns have been approved and the fur finally arrives, I start getting to work. In this case, I could use the samples. I didn't actually need to order any more fur. That's a unique case. And because Fabric.com does send humongous samples, I sometimes will do just that. I'll just get samples for small markings because it's a lot cheaper for everyone. But yeah, once I get all the fur that I need and I have approval of all patterns that need to be approved, I start getting to work, and here's the beginning of that. In this case, the marking on the back of the hand is sewn and shaved to get approval on whether or not that sewing and shaving looks good and is right, or if I need to do it again, rip out the marking, and blah blah blah. The fingers are not sewn on, and this would be another approval stage where I'm just like, does this look right? Should I make the fingers fatter, or blah blah blah? Does the marking on the back of the hand look right? These would be the questions that I would ask to make sure that things are progressing properly. This next picture is a hand that is sewn together, but without anything else going on. It's just the sock of a hand sewn together, nothing else. Now, this sock hand stage is probably one of the most important approval stages in this entire process. This is the point where most major alterations can be made. once I put in the paw pads, the claws, anything like that, most things can't be done, or anything that can be done will have to be done through surface alterations. So I'll do multiple pictures in this case. Here you can see that, it's next to the old paw. I typically wouldn't be able to do that for a commissioner, but I'll put it next to a photo that was given by the commissioner and be like, hey, here's the side-by-side comparison. I also have me wearing it, wearing it next to the old paw, and from my determinations from putting it on, yada yada yada, was that the middle marking was wrinkly and weird, and I didn't like it at all, so I decided to put a pillow in it. And this would be a decision that the commissioner would make, but maybe something that I would suggest. So this might be an alteration that I would suggest. Be like, hey, this marking's really, really, really. Do you think we maybe want to put a pillow in here? And so this next image is actually not a progress image that I would normally take. I just sent this to my partner because I was just like, hey, does this look good? And this is the first image I ever took with the pillow in it. And that's when I decided, yes, I do want to do this pillow thing. Let's put it in the other hand. And that's when pillow back of the hand thing became a thing. And now we come to the final progress stage before we have to wait forever, and that is the 2 hand socks in their full glory with their hand pillows and everything. The only padding that's not in these hands are the padding that I'm going to be putting in the fingers, and that's because it's just going to be loose polyfill, and I can't put that in until after I install the claws. So now we have to wait for DVC, which is not going to be here until another 2 weeks. So,
2 weeks later.
And DVC finally got here. Yay! So usually I would take a picture of the packaging and then a picture of the open packages to make sure that the commissioner knows that nothing has been tampered with or damaged. And this is just because people get paranoid, and I don't want to get blamed for anything happening to anything. That just personal preference. Also, if anything is UV, glow in the dark, anything like that, I will test it. I will send any tests to the commissioner, any photos or video that I may take to test it myself. And I test everything just in case something goes wrong with DVC and I need to talk to DVC about getting it replaced. Which is something that you always should do whenever getting products from a fursuit parts supplier. You should always test it to make sure that it works when it shows up. So that'll happen. But in this case, as you can see, I just went ahead and installed it. So yeah, that's what happened. Of course, after I install it, as you can see, that also becomes a progress picture. But let's just pretend for this specific picture that these paw pads are not glued on. That would be the first image that you would get, the theoretical placement of what's going on, and then that's when I would put it on officially. I got kind of excited when everything finally showed up. It's like I saw the package, I immediately put everything on, and then I totally forgot I was making this video. No joke. I'm dumb. I apologize. I'm so bad at this. But yeah, that's what happened. That's my excuse. Sorry about that. But the paws are now finished officially. And then I would send the final shots to the commissioner to get final approval. If there's anything small that needs to be done afterwards, that the commissioner wants me to do, this would be the time to let me know anything surface that should be done. Whatever. I also have some side-by-side shots of the new ones and the old ones. Because, it's nice to see the comparison of the two. And like I said before, I typically would not have access to the old parts of the commissioners. So, for me, what I would do is I would just take the photos that the commissioner gave me beforehand and then put them side by side. I also took a small video comparing the two paws, and this is more to show off the work rather than explain the commission process. So let's get to that. So here are the differences between the paws. I'm only using one for example. So the first thing is on this specific paw, I changed one fur color, and that's the turquoise. I changed it to Aruba. It matches better. It's just a better turquoise. On both, I changed the long fur to short for the trident marking. On both, the rest of this applies to both. What am I talking about? Floofy wrist. Also, there's no elastic in the wrist anymore, like there is on the old paws. Also, I got rid of the stupid button attempt. It didn't work. If I can get these lined up. Interestingly, these are both the same dimensions, and it just shows that my style has changed when it comes to paws. So if I flip these over, now we can actually look at some of the hardware here. All of these, everything I'm pointing out right now, these are all the parts that belong to the small anthro paw pads from DVC. Now they look a little bit different because these are 5 years later and the style's a little bit different now. So these are the same small canine claws. They look the same. I'm sure they've been revamped. Now the palm pad's the only thing that's different. This is the regular anthro palm pad, and it's better for the grabbies. I just didn't like the small pad. It hurt my hand. Now this little thing right here, I moved it up because this is supposed to represent Django's polydactyly, and it just looks better moved upwards. So yeah, this is the differences between the two. These are also glow in the dark rather than UV like on the old ones. I don't think they do UV anymore for the paw pads. These are UV though. So yeah, that's everything from beginning to end. And also just a basic overview of the paws themselves, so I don't have to do a separate video on that. And yeah, that's what it would be like to commission me in theory. Of course, every experience is different. And also, just how this project turned out, from my first project to doing it again 5 years later. This was a lot of fun to do. It was nice to see, my abilities to apply all of my skills in this kind of format. And it's just also fun, once again, to see just how complicated Django is. Holy crap. There's a reason why I commission most of his upgrades. I don't do them myself anymore because he is such a pain. But it didn't seem right to have anyone else but me make his hand paws since they were the first thing I ever made. So, I don't know, take it symbolically if you will, but it just seemed appropriate to me, and I'm glad I did it because it was a challenge and I applied pretty much everything I know. I think the only thing I didn't do on these paws was a Henson stitch, and that's because it's not applicable at all. So, yeah, this was a lot of fun to do. And and this is just a fun video to make. So take it for what you will. Take it for shits and giggles or for something serious if you are actually considering commissioning me and you're curious as to how that process would go. Or if you're considering commissioning anyone and you just don't know how it works and you're a little scared or a little confused. It's nothing to be scared or confused about. And like I said before, if this is what applies to me, and just because not all makers do what I do doesn't necessarily mean that anything is wrong. I prefer doing multiple work in progress photos. I prefer spamming commissioners with progress, but not all makers like doing it. Not all commissioners like getting all that progress. So it really just depends on the person. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!